So as people come in, tonight's live event, we're going to be talking about sleep in depth, specifically how our system of technologies has helped thousands of people. And I can tell you what we've learned in the last 15 years has been really substantial. How we implement these technologies, how these technologies has developed, how they've developed over the years, because a lot of them are computer reliant, just like your smartphone. They are improving very quickly. And so for us just to sort of stay ahead of the curve, make sure that we can implement these technologies in a very comfortable and efficient way has been quite the learning process. And then, it's very interesting when people start sleeping and it kind of surprises them, but they start sleeping through the night when they haven't in maybe years. We get a lot of feedback and we want to make sure it's a long lasting. We want to make sure this is a lifetime experience, so they're not falling back into poor sleep. And as a result, we've found some support technologies, implemented some interesting modules and techniques that we have found really level this high quality sleep out for a lifetime. So and we have Bob holding.
Yeah, and just for people who might not know us, this is my brother David. We're brother and sister, and we've been doing this for 15 years. So this is our second time doing a Facebook Live, so it's kind of interesting and fun for us. And I know we're going to want to get Bob on pretty quick, but should I just mention our goal tonight is to discuss the things David has mentioned. We would love to meet everybody, obviously, in person here, but if you can't make it to us, we also want to give you some things that are of benefit and add value to you tonight during this time. But I want to share that while we're on the air, we have people on the phones ready to take calls. And if anyone decides they do want to come meet us in person and do a discovery consult, we're offering that for 60% off. So it would be $39. And you'll also receive this gift, which is a nice cup that also has a $100 gift certificate to go toward services. So that's something you should know that's happening. I don't know if I can bring this in, but real quick, you'll also be part of a raffle for a gift basket that has a $1,200 gift certificate. It's kind of big here.
Yeah.
Gift certificate in it, and you can see lots of goodies in there. And you'll also be in a raffle for another gift with a $350 gift certificate and some other goodies. So as we're going along, if you're thinking you'd like to check us out, learn a little more about us and experience our technology, just call the number on the screen. I think it's right below us. And we have people here to take the calls. We even opened up 4 appointments for tomorrow. So if you just can't wait till next week, you could come and see us tomorrow and we could meet with you then.
But if you call now or you just call tonight, then when you do come in, you get the 60% off, but you'll also get that $100 gift certificate and the gift. So just so you know, and they'll explain all that to you if you do call in. So hopefully we're not presenting this in too complicated of a way.
I see Joy. Hello, Joy. I know more people will be joining us as we go. So.
Yes. And so some of the things we're going to be talking about, again, we're going to be answering questions. We're going to be talking to Bob in just a few minutes. He's going to be sharing his story, what he experienced with the technologies, how they impacted him, specifically around sleep, and then anything else he might want to share. And then we're going to be answering questions. So please have some questions ready for us. Anything relating to the technology, any questions you might have about sleep. I know we've had people ask things about what the technology looks like, what kind of recommendations we might make. There's a whole range of sleep issues that people deal with, from just struggling with falling asleep, unwanted racing thoughts. Some people fall asleep, but they wake up in the middle of the night. They can't get back to sleep. We've worked with first responders who they might be on a 24/7 call for a period of time, and they just have to get up at certain times based on emergency. And we have helped them get really high quality sleep, even with their circumstances. So please come up with some good questions for us, and we'll be answering those in just a little bit. So we've got Bob on the line. You might need to move over a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Bob's blocking your head.
All right.
How you doing, Bob?
How do I do that? Can I put my hand over here and block your head?
There you go. So
hey, I want one of those big gift baskets.
Yeah, the team put together those gift baskets. It's a lot of interesting sleep related stuff. I was impressed.
Just schedule a discovery consult, Bob. You'll get in the drawing. We'll include
Oh,
you.
well, piece of cake then.
All right.
Which,
Well,
by the
Bob,
way, Dave,
we of
you
course
you
appreciate
were
you
asking
joining
me.
us.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
sorry.
you were asking me earlier when we were talking before I came on about the stuff on the wall behind me, and I guess you saw a couple of guns up on the wall.
Yes.
And so I'll just let our viewers know that I told Dave when he was like, "What's with the guns, Bob?" I said, "Well, that's in case this doesn't go well and you ask me questions I don't like. So
Yes.
I'm prepared. That's
We'll be
all."
very cautious with our questions.
Okay. All right.
Do you think there's probably people here who don't know who Bob is?
Yeah, for those people that don't know who Bob Duco is, he's a Christian radio talk show host in Michigan, in Detroit, and you can actually stream him live. He's on WMUZ. Am I missing anything, Bob? I know you've there's quite
I
a
don't think
bit.
so. Noon
Yeah.
till 4, 103.5, 103.5 FM. And yeah, that's where I am every day.
Yeah.
Talking
And we
about you
met
guys.
Bob many years ago,
Yeah.
and we met him and discovered he was having some serious sleep issues. And so we thought he would be ideal to share his story. And it's kind of interesting too, because how many years has it been, Bob?
12 and a half.
12 and a half.
12.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice to hear a story of somebody who went through this 12 and a half years ago and to see, has it lasted and how are they doing 12 and a half years later? So I'll be careful about the questions I ask, but are you interested in sharing your story, telling them a little bit about what the whole
Sure.
experience was like?
No, you bet. And I've talked about this on the air before, and I've certainly talked about it with you, Dave and Julie. But for me, insomnia was just a standard way of life. I can say that for about probably 25, if not close to 30 years, but at least 25 years of my adult life, I just had severe insomnia. And there comes a time where you just kind of get used to it. You live on sleeping pills and you just function that way. And so for me, what normal was when I would go to bed at night, I would usually lay there. An average night was somewhere around 2 to 3 hours before I would fall asleep. Okay. And then once I did fall asleep, every night, and I mean every night, I would wake up after about 3 or 4 hours. And then when I would wake up, I'd try to get back to sleep and I couldn't. And I'd lay there and I'd roll around and then I'd get up a little bit and I'd lay back down. And sometimes I would kind of fall back asleep, but not completely until you're dozing in and out, kind of skimming the surface until before you know it, you can see the sun starting to come up and you end up waking up and you get up. And so that's just the way that I would function. And I would be pretty tired. And that was most nights. But then what would happen probably about maybe 3 times a year or so is I would get on insomnia binges where I literally would not sleep for about 3 days, where I would go to bed at 2, 3 hours goes by and I never did fall asleep. The next thing you know, it's 3 o'clock, then it's 4 o'clock, then it's 5 o'clock. I'm still awake. Sun comes up. It's like, oh boy, here we go. So then I get up, I come in and I try to do my show. And trying to concentrate doing my show is just a real pain. So then I go home and that night, hoping I fall asleep again. And when this would happen, it would usually go 2 or 3 days. So I would go a second night without sleeping at all. And then again, try to do my show. Now I've gone a couple days without sleep, trying to do my show. And it would just be so, this would be all I could do. I would sit behind the microphone literally with my eyes closed while I'm talking because I'm just so tired, which gets really difficult when you're debating people and you kind of need to have mental clarity and focus. So I would go home that night, and if I could fall asleep even for just a little bit, 3 or 4 hours, it would be enough to put a band-aid on it for the next day. Sometimes I would not fall asleep for the third night in a row, and I would just have to call off. I would have to call in and say we need to run a best of or get a guest host for me because I just mentally I can't even put words together. I'm so tired. And then usually by the fourth night, I would fall asleep again, but same routine, take 2 or 3 hours to fall asleep, wake up after 3 or 4 hours, and then skim the surface in and out of sleep basically until morning. This was every day, every night of my life for well over 25 years. So what happened then was one of our account representatives came to me and said, Bob, there's this company that wants to advertise on your show, Brain Life Center. And I said, well, what's Brain Life Center? What's that mean? You know, because I didn't know anything about brain optimization. I just didn't know anything about that at all. So as I do, I said, well, I need to meet them first and talk with them and check out their operations, see if I feel comfortable endorsing, all of that. And that's what I did. So we met. You remember the grilling that I kind of put you guys through in that
Yes, I
first
do.
meeting.
You are known
And
to be
so I went through
skeptical.
the sessions, and after going through the sessions, I remember, and Dave, you and I talked about this. Uh, I didn't suddenly start sleeping better after the first or second session. It was about 5 or 6 sessions in, and then suddenly I go to bed, and next thing you know, I woke up like 8 hours later, and I hadn't done that in 25 years. Like, what in the world is going on?
Yeah.
And I tell you, it has dramatically changed everything for me. Now, what is normal for the last 12 and a half years is when I go to bed, uh, I'd love to say I fall asleep in 30 seconds. Okay, I don't. But it's usually about 15, 20 minutes is about average to fall asleep. I never wake up in the middle of the night anymore. I mean, literally never. And I'm 63 years old. I should have to go to the bathroom, but I even don't have to wake up for that. And then I have to set my alarm. And so I wake up to my alarm every morning. And that's what it's been. That's the new normal for the last 12 and a half years.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that so one of the things that you hadn't thought of prior to coming to Brain Life Center, and you shared with me years ago, was the idea that this technology, we're placing sensors on the head. So these are EEG sensors we're just strategically placing on the head, and then the sensors are picking up these non-audible brain waves. These waves
Right.
are then being sent to an application that's translating these non-audible waves into sound waves. So you're listening to your brain live, but
Hmm.
the technology is passive, meaning that it's simply
Right.
showing the brain itself live. It's not pushing or pulling. It's not trying to manipulate in any way. And what's
Right.
remarkable is that your brain figures out that all this data it's hearing is in fact itself. And then everything that happens from there really is, it's mostly outside of the technology room. It's at home where the brain is responding to all this new data, and it starts to self-regulate and improve. And I remember talking to you about it, and you were fascinated by the concept just from a design perspective, right?
Right.
Like,
Well,
okay,
and it is fascinating for me because, and we've talked about this before, when you get a cut, your blood automatically clots because God designed the blood to automatically clot. There's something called prothrombin in your system that's a coagulating agent that causes it to clot naturally. You don't have to do anything. And I didn't know that your brain and your brain frequencies get out of alignment, as you age and you go through traumas in life and things like that. And so, yeah, God designed the brain to naturally realign and retune, if you will, itself like you tune a piano, but the brain does it automatically. The only difference is the brain doesn't know it's out of tune until it can see its own brainwaves or hear its own brainwaves. And once it does that, then God designed the brain to go, oh, wait a minute here. This needs to be tweaked here. This needs to be tweaked here. And the brain does that automatically while you're sleeping, really. And then before you know it, your brain starts getting into alignment on its own. And it's like, wow, now I'm sleeping through the night. I got better mental clarity and everything. And to me, a big important part of this was the physiology of it, the science of it, and how God designed the brain. It was very important to me. You guys remember that there's no new age energies or any of
yes.
that kind of silliness. As believers in Christ, obviously we don't adhere to those things. This is physiological. It's how God designed the brain, and I know from firsthand experience it works.
That's what's so important to me about that whole concept is I cannot hurt anyone. I could not do this work. I had the risk of hurting one person. So I love
Right.
that the brain is in charge. And the thing is, the brain is already working to repair itself. But this is like a mirror giving the brain a perspective it's never seen before. It's like putting a three-way mirror up all of a sudden. It's like, it has more information to respond to. So it's pretty amazing that it's so safe and efficient at the same time.
Well,
Anyway,
can I add to that?
Don't want your
Can I
headline.
add to that, Julie?
Pardon me?
Julie,
Yes.
I want to add to that. I want to add to,
Please.
because this is an important point that you make, and Dave made this point before as well, and I think it's got to be reiterated. You don't enter any information into the brain.
No.
You don't, it's completely passive. And I think it's important for people to understand what that really means. Because if you remember, Dave and Julie, I said to you guys, look, I don't need you messing with my brain. I don't want to be clucking like a chicken. I need my brain for my job. And you assured me, no, we don't do anything with your brain. It's actually really completely hands off. It's just, let's let your brain hear itself. And then let's just leave our hands off of your brain and see what your brain does automatically, how God designed it. And so the idea that there's no information being entered to the brain was a big deal for me. It's totally passive, and that matters a lot.
Yeah, it's not being entered through the sensors because the sensors are reading information, but
Right.
we are
Right.
giving the brain information about itself through the auditory experience. So through the sound, people are listening to their brain live. So that is in some way bringing in information, but it's through the auditory mirror,
Right.
not through the sensors that we're putting on the head. So yes,
By
It's
the
as-
way,
it's as
to
passive-
the listeners, to the listeners, just so everybody knows, those sensors,
Yeah.
there's like a little gel, and you put like a little gel, and they're so soft, okay. But with Julie, she stapled them on my head.
well,
But
that's because you
everybody
weren't
else-
behaving.
That was
Well-
only you. We only use staples
I know,
on your
I
head.
felt so special.
My staple gun, just for Bob.
So I do want people to know, when you mention this, the passive nature of it, one of the ways we explain it, everybody's familiar with a mirror that they use in the morning to maybe do their hair, shave, put on makeup, whatever it is they're using it for. They know it's a passive reflection, so they can choose to use it to their benefit, or they can just walk on by. They understand the safety of a mirror because it is a passive reflection, although it's visual. And so this is very similar to that, except this is being presented to the brain via sound, but it is
Right.
just as safe.
Yes.
And
yes.
your brain only uses it if it sees an option to improve itself. And it's very measurable, as you know, even your personal experience. When you start sleeping through the night after 20 some years, that is very obvious.
Right. Well, it really is. And when you get more sleep, let's face it, you do have better mental clarity and focus, and that kind of comes in handy for my job. I know for most people, it can also make them less cranky and irritable. I don't think that worked for me. Okay. I'm still just as cranky and irritable and ornery. Maybe it's because I'm getting older, and so I'm getting, crankier. Get the squirrels off my lawn. But the truth is, though, it does, when you sleep better, there's a whole host of things that it seems to help with. It's almost like sleeping better is the tree trunk, and there's all these branches that come off the tree that benefits when you're getting better sleep, and that's what I've found.
Yeah, and we're going to talk a little more about
Yeah.
that tonight. I know, Bob, we told you you'd be with us for 10 to 15 minutes, and I think we've kept you that long. I think it's fantastic that you were willing to share your story, but I want to give you the opportunity to go. I know you have your family waiting for you, so.
Well, actually, I have my computer waiting for me because I'm
yeah.
prepping and
You show
researching
prep.
for tomorrow's show.
Oh, all right. Well,
And
I
you know,
remember
there's
you doing
nothing
that when
really-
you were doing sessions.
Yeah, I know there's nothing really going on in news or the world, so I'm having to make up stuff to talk about.
Yeah,
Well,
it's very light news. That is,
Yeah,
it's
pretty
been
slow.
crazy.
Yeah, I know. But no, look, it's great seeing you guys. It is, and I would just encourage everybody that is watching this tonight, take advantage of the 60% off of the initial the discovery consultation. Okay, I mean it's a great deal. It was like $39 or something. Julie, is that what that is for?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, come on, you can't beat it. You got no reason, in my honest opinion, you have no reason not to kick the tires, give it a try, check it out, ask some questions, and then you decide what you want to do from there. That's what I did, and I'm very glad that I did. So
Thank
Well,
you so much, Bob.
Much
I appreciate
appreciated.
you.
Yeah, thank you, Bob.
great seeing you guys. Have a great rest of your live session tonight.
Hey, good.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a good night and good luck with the news cycle. We'll
And
be
I'll have a
listening.
great night's sleep, and I'll wake up to my alarm clock tomorrow.
Yeah, and
All right,
yeah,
we'll see you
hopefully,
guys.
hopefully some of the people here will turn you on tomorrow as well and listen in because I'm sure
Yeah.
it'll be an interesting show. It always is.
Yeah,
So
that'd be
thank
great.
you.
I appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Good seeing you.
Thanks,
All
Bob.
right,
Bye.
have a good evening.
Bye.
Michaela's joined us. Hi, Michaela. I'm so glad that you're here. And
Nate, thank
good
you
to
for
see
joining
you.
us.
Appreciate it.
Nate's on the west side of the state, and he actually came to us. Well, that's awesome that he's shown up.
Yeah, he's doing
Um,
some good work for our vets.
You know, I see a question that somebody asked, so we'll answer some questions, we'll cover some things, but one of the questions Kale asked is, can we help with sleep apnea? And it's a good question, and it really has a little interesting history. So we were thinking years ago when we started doing this, we had a lot of success with people who struggle with sleep issues, and we had people coming in with sleep apnea. Some of them, they did the overnight sleep study and they had CPAP machines. And really, it was a big surprise to us because a number of them, when they went through this, sleep apnea, of course, is a blockage of the airway, but there's reasons for this. And there can be a physical deformity, but that's much less likely. In many cases, it turns out that the brain can be responsible for misaligning the airway. There's other variables, like they talk about, okay, if you could lose weight, the way that you might sleep. They do little jaw realignment devices. But one thing we discovered is people would come in, they'd actually go back and do a overnight sleep study after coming to Brain Life Center. And they found that they were sleeping through the night. They were having none of these issues where they stopped breathing. And they actually got off their CPAP machines. And they came back to us. And to our surprise, it's like, you've got to be kidding me. So we researched a little bit, found out there were different types of sleep apnea, and you didn't always have to move to a CPAP machine. So anyway, the answer would be yes, but we like the idea of if you come in, especially if you're on a CPAP machine, that you go back and do a sleep study and you follow the advice of your doctor. But if, of course, things go well, it's really nice when you can get off a CPAP machine because they tend to be kind of annoying. So.
But even if you can't and you do have the physical type of sleep apnea, we've had people who were still helping improve their quality of sleep, which means they're improving the quality of their life. So even if the sleep apnea is helping you with sleep, you still may be in a state of fight or flight or have some other issues that are getting in the way of you having quality sleep.
Right.
So we might be a good thing to partner up with the sleep apnea machine to really get your sleep optimized.
Yeah, it appears that when the brain starts to self-regulate, these cortical imbalances start to adjust just naturally. The sleep cycles are improved. So, you go into those initial deep sleep, you come out of it, you go into a short REM state, you go back into like stage 3, stage 4. These sleep cycles tend to improve when the brain is self-regulating properly. So regardless of the circumstances, if you can add this technology to helping sleep, you tend to get deeper, more restful sleep, even if you have other issues. We've worked with, I mentioned first responders earlier. I worked with a guy, he was a fireman, and he had to be 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off. So 2 weeks on meant he's on call 24/7. And so an emergency pops up, he might have to get up at 2 a.m. and go to an emergency, which means you're immediately waking up rapidly and getting into an intense situation. What he felt, we couldn't change his schedule, but what he discovered is when he got back to the station, when he could finally lay down again, the speed at which he fell back asleep was amazing. And even if he only had 4 or 5 hours of sleep, he found that when he woke up, he was feeling much better. He could tell he had more energy. He was a little better at focusing and being a little more involved in the day. Whereas in the past, he'd be absolutely wiped out and just be struggling, especially around maybe lunch hour. So yeah, there's a lot of variables with sleep, but this tends to help. Even if, again, we had a woman who had a baby and the baby was keeping her up, and obviously she's going to have to attend to that baby. But when she says, my gosh, I go back to bed, I fall asleep quickly. I'm not up because I was woken up. I'm not up for the rest of the night. Instead, I fall asleep and I get some quality sleep between the moments I got to get up and take care of my little girl. So
We have a few new babies in our family, so we should get them in
Yes,
here
we
right
do.
now, actually.
I don't know if Sam and Caleb are watching, but yes, I have a new grandson, Noah,
I have a little grandbaby girl,
all within about a
Georgia
week.
Grace. So we're blessed
Yeah.
over here.
Of course, we don't have to get up with them.
No, but
Which is really nice.
I was thinking maybe there's people here who have not been in to see us yet and aren't sure what it is that we do here. So let me just tell you real quick. What you're hearing us talk about the sensors, that's our primary technology. So when you come in for a discovery consult, we ask questions of you, and then you'll meet our team, and we'll sit down. I'm getting a note to get closer to the mic. Sorry.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
So you'll sit down in one of our rooms and actually experience our technology firsthand. We'll put the sensors on your head using conductivity paste. It's a very comfortable. In fact, it's so comfortable people have a hard time staying awake. We put them in a nice chair. And those sensors are going to read the activity of the brain as they talked about earlier. And then you're going to be listening to this beautiful music. And the delivery mechanism for the mirror is these micro interruptions that are occurring with the potential up to 256 per second. A lot of data being exchanged, received from your brain and sent back to you through the auditory tones. And then after you experience that sample, you sit down with one of our guidance technologists. I know I've opened up 4 appointments tomorrow, so that if anyone wanted to get in as early as tomorrow, we can meet with you and have you go through this process. So we have other technologies here that we'll introduce and discuss as we go along, but that's our primary technology. And through that, we are helping thousands of people with sleep. And we help people with anxiety, depression, focus, and concentration. So as we talk about sleep, I just want people to make sure they understand kind of what the look of the room is.
Absolutely.
Eventually,
Sure.
we want to have the technology that we can give you a tour of the office. So hopefully in one of our future live events, we'll be in a position to do that so you can see a little bit more at the live event. So
Yeah, and when somebody comes in and that discovery consultation we're talking about is about 90 minutes, and we're not only showing you a tour of the office, you're seeing the technology room, you're seeing the different technologies. We're actually giving you those samples that she's talking about. But also we sit down with you and we go a little more in depth as to your specific struggles so that we can make recommendations that are very customized for what you're struggling with. So you learn a lot about the technologies. We go deeper because now we can specify, okay, what are you struggling with? So we're selecting certain protocols and certain technologies that are ideal for you. And that way we can talk about, okay, this is what we're recommending for you specifically because of what you shared with us. And then, of course, you'll probably have some questions for us at that stage. And our goal is to answer all of your questions about the recommendations and the technologies we're recommending for you specifically. So we've got a couple questions. Should we?
Yeah. Well, I see Maria is saying better deep sleep. We know that she has received that herself. So thanks for sharing that. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us, Mireya. And I just want to say that, so Mireya came in and she was struggling with a few issues, but she was really surprised about the impact it had on her sleep. And it's been nice because she came in and did a video testimonial, which we are currently editing and will be going out on our website. Probably, I'm guessing, Mireya, it's probably going to be within a week. Maybe it could possibly be tomorrow or Monday, but I think if you go to our website and you check out some of these, hers will be on the top sometime next week. And it was a quality. You shared quite a bit, and I think people will appreciate it. So thank you, Mireya. You want to ask Deanna? Deanna asked, does this help with night terrors?
Well, you've had personal experience with that.
I know.
You should tell that story. Oh my gosh, that was a scary thing. You haven't had any. When's the last time you had a night terror?
Well, it's kind of wild because there might be a genetic component. So anyway, I will just say, first of all, the answer is yes. One of the really fascinating things Bob talked about earlier is, so just imagine millions of bits of data being translated. So we're placing the sensors, it's picking up brain activity, and this means it's picking up different types of cortical balance and imbalance. But we don't have to know what's there or exactly how it got there. But what's fascinating is when the brain can hear itself live, it starts to self-correct in these measurable ways. And so we might see a right to left temporal spike come down. We might see a midline spike come down in relation to the right and left hemisphere in that particular lobe. And so with night terrors, this is what happens. Apparently, they're not where the brain wants to be. the brain self-corrects, and people that talk about very strange night terrors, even in some cases, they act them out, right? When you go into a dream state, your body is supposed to go completely limp. You're basically paralyzed so that you don't hurt yourself. In some cases, rare cases, even after adolescence, people will act out their dreams, and this can be quite dangerous. I was one of these people. And so I haven't had one of these night terrors since I can remember, but even my son went through this. And many, many years ago, is that the story you're thinking about?
Yes. Well, that doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but I guess time is
Yeah,
flying.
well, I mean, it's been 15 years. So I actually acted out a dream, and in my dream state, smashed through a window and cut myself.
Because there was a train,
very
there was a
bizarre
train going by, right?
Yeah,
And
it was
then
like a perfect storm. I was staying at my brother's place years ago, and it was down from some train tracks, and the train's going by. Boom, boom, a very loud noise. At the same time, I had just gotten home from a bachelor party. There was a variable there. And anyway, and then I was just having this strange dream. And the dream was that the train had gone off the rails and I had to escape before the train hit the house. I wake up and I had broken through some windows. Pretty crazy. Anyway, what's fascinating is a lot of people, even the different doctors that I talked to, they didn't fully understand what had occurred. But I have since dealt with people that have dealt with a similar problem. In some cases, they're not acting out their dreams, but they are feeling intense. They might wake up and the body, they're terrified because their body is still in that frozen state, right? It's paralyzed for the person's safety, but now they're awake, they can't move, and they just came out of a terrifying dream. This technology, these tend to dissipate in a very short amount of time because it's helping improve the sleep cycles. So again, you go into those deep stage 3, stage 4, the short REM cycle, stage 3, stage 4, short REM gets a little longer. The second half of your night is more of the REM cycle or the dream states. You wake up after the final one, and you just wake up refreshed. Most people in that case, they're not even remembering their dreams because they go back into a not a deep sleep, but a light sleep cycle, and then they wake up gently. It's the way to go. So I guess that's a long answer to yes, we do help with night terrors.
And we've helped quite a few people with night terrors, but I remember David sleepwalking even as a kid. I remember you walking around talking, and you
I didn't know I'd be sharing that today. Yeah,
I like to bring out all the exciting
story.
Details of our history when I can on public.
That did entirely go away. It's amazing.
That is amazing because it was dangerous.
I know. It's a little frightening if it's you.
You know, one of the things I'd love for you to share more about the glimpse system, but you know, sure. I want to share too that we have people who have a hard time getting to sleep. We have people who get to sleep fine and then they wake up and they can't get back to sleep through the night, or they wake up several times through the night. Many people are struggling with racing thoughts that they can't slow down their thoughts enough for their body to go into a sleep state. But we also have people who are not even aware that they have a sleep problem, and maybe they're sleeping 9 to 11 hours a night, and they'll say, I'm sleeping great, but they're tired all day. So it could be that they're in bed long enough, but they're not getting the quality sleep that they need. So when the brain balances itself out and they start to get quality sleep, they start sleeping more normal hours and feeling rested throughout the day. And then there was a story we were talking about early. One of my early clients, he called me after a few weeks after going through the sessions, and he was sleeping better. And he said, you know, I'm kind of concerned because since I've gone through this, I've been waking up every morning at 4:30. And it seems like I can't sleep until my normal time around 6 o'clock. And I was kind of concerned. And I said, okay, well, tell me about that. Like, how is your day going? Do you feel rested? And he's like, oh, I feel very rested. I'm getting more work done than I used to get done. And I get up at 4:30. It's a great part of the day, but I'm concerned maybe I'm not getting enough sleep. Well, how do you know if you're getting enough sleep? How you know if you're getting enough sleep is you're rested and you don't feel tired all the time. So it was kind of cute at the end of the conversation. He said, you know, they say you can't buy time. He said, I think I just bought time, because he was now getting up an hour and a half earlier and feeling great all throughout the day and finding himself even more productive than he had been prior. So there's a lot of different scenarios that people experience when they're not getting quality sleep. So wanted to mention that as well. But the glimpse system is such a big part of quality sleep. Will you share about that?
Sure. It's a relatively new discovery. It's like, I think maybe 15 years ago, 14 years ago, but the glimpse system is the way the brain cleanses itself on a cellular level. And the rest of the body, most people are familiar with the lymph system. This is the glimpse system with a G. And it was just fascinating to read a lot of what they discovered. But basically, it has a unique way of cleansing brain cells. And just know that a particular fluid is coming in and out via veins and arteries, but this fluid is an outer chamber. It's released through the brain cells, and it literally, the brain cells are awash in this fluid, picking up cellular garbage, making its way into the outer chambers and moved out of the brain. What's really interesting is that they started monitoring when this is occurring. And it turns out, now it varies based on studies, but it's always a very substantial majority. It's like 80 to 90% of the time that the glimpse system is actually active in cleansing brain cells is during deep sleep cycles. So those initial stage 3, stage 4 sleep cycles that you have a solid 2, hopefully, if you're sleeping properly, it's during that time that the majority of the cleansing is taking place. So just imagine different types of plaque and cellular waste. If it's not being cleansed properly because of poor sleep, everybody knows what happens, right? Inevitably, you're, like Bob was talking about, you're not thinking clearly anymore. You might be more irritable. You're not doing very well in school or at work. You're struggling with, anxiety can start to build. People will have depression or lack of motivation, right? There's so many things that can occur when the brain's not cleansing properly. So that's hopefully somewhat of a nutshell.
Yeah, and I'm looking at this question from Mary Jo. She says, it's a comment. She says she uses a CPAP. So how much I sleep is noted each day. My doctor told me that I average 4.2 hours a day. I've had trouble since I was 10 or 11 years old and only sleep longer when she's not feeling well. Now, I don't know. I'd love to meet you, Mary Jo, and ask you some questions and learn a little bit more. But my guess would be that 4.2 hours a day is not enough sleep to get proper cleansing of the brain, which is going to cause issues.
Very unlikely.
So, I'd love for you to just come in and sit down with me and let's talk about it, because we probably could really help you improve that. It may be great for you to it's great that you can measure it. I've been just recently using this Whoop. My daughter's boyfriend works for this company, and so it's maybe a month now, and it's monitoring my sleep, how much REM sleep, all of those things. So it's pretty nice when you can measure it, and then you go through this process and you see the improvement that happens. So I would think, Mary Jo, that it would be really worth your time to come in. And don't forget, you call tonight before 8, $39, and you get into the drawings for all the goodies. So, and then C wants to know the number of sessions. You want to address that?
Yeah, that can vary person to person. I just want to mention, though, the Whoop, the Aura, there's a lot of really great technologies that help monitor sleep and a number of other measurable and interesting measurements throughout your day that can really be helpful. But I will just say, in regards to the number of sessions, so it varies person to person. We have people that come from out of state. They'll do everything within about 10 to 11 days. But that's when we're intentionally trying to condense it. But I'll just give you a few variables. We would make that determination based on meeting you personally and understanding what you're struggling with specifically, right? But I'll give you some variables. One is age. People that are under 25, they tend to respond faster. Their brain's a little more adaptive. There's more plasticity than somebody that's, say, even my age. I'm 58, but if you're in your 70s or 80s, that's a variable in determining, well, how many sessions might they need? Another big factor is, are you on a lot of medication? Specifically psychotropic medications. How that might slow things down is a variable that we take into consideration when we're trying to predict the number of sessions required. And another big one that's kind of interesting is context. Imagine somebody coming to us and they're dealing with, say, a serious sleep issue, but a lot of it is maybe they're having a hard time sleeping because of unwanted racing thoughts. And these unwanted racing thoughts are due to an incredibly stressful job. And they're having maybe flashbacks of really intense sort of traumatic things that have occurred recently, and they're still working at that job. Well, we know that if they're still going to be working at that job, we've got something more to overcome. And so that's another variable. It's like, okay, I have a feeling for this person, they might need some more sessions because they're going back to some high stress environment. There's other variables, but those are like the top 3.
So that's why we try to make the discovery consult so easy for people to come and do, so
Right.
that we can give you a recommendation for your situation. But I do want a couple things. I want you to know we do train through medications. So don't feel like if you're on medications, this isn't for you, because we train.
Oh,
Most people are on
absolutely.
medications. By the time they come to us, they've
Yeah.
tried everything out there, and it's not
Yeah, that's a good
unusual
point.
for us to train through that. And also, if you do have stress in your life and that seems to be causing the problem, sometimes when you go through this, your circumstance doesn't change, but your stress levels do. Like, you're not as bothered by that circumstance. So it's a factor. And sometimes we have to say, look, you can't work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week in that high stress job and have a balanced brain. Other times it's a perception, or the way we're perceiving that circumstances, or that circumstance that's causing us trouble, and a balanced brain might settle that down to where you can be in that same situation and it's not bothersome to you. So just to throw some extra thoughts in there.
Yeah.
And I do want to say, I see a note that says Jimmy loves Brain Life Center. I just want to
Yes.
say Brain Life Center loves
Thank you, Jimmy. Yes, Jimmy Papera. I
Yeah.
appreciate that, Jimmy.
And I'm not, Shelly, starting August 8th. Congratulations. I'm excited for you, Shelly. It'll be great. And James said he came in and he's sleeping like a baby. I love it. That's
James
great.
Kilkenny. This is an odd little, I guess I'm kind of nerding out here, but the truth is babies don't sleep so well. As adults, we want to sleep, 7, 8, 9 hours. And in truth, babies will be sleeping in small bursts. And then as they move in, as they grow and develop, they start sleeping
Okay,
longer.
maybe like a toddler.
But I know what you're saying. It is, I know, you're right. Forget the baby comment, but it's a funny comment. We don't want to sleep like babies.
Speaking of babies, we do work with people ages. The youngest I've worked with my 3-year-old grandson at one point, but usually it's between 5, and our oldest client was maybe 98, 99. So
Yes.
we work with all ages for this.
Yeah, that passive reflection, if we can we've had a little boy place sensors on his head and he has no idea what's going on. And yet the parents notice really substantial change in a very short amount of time. So obviously sleep affects a lot of things. A lot of things are downstream from sleep, but that little boy was a focus issue, right? Some severe ADHD. It calmed him down dramatically and he had no idea what we were doing, but we were able to get him to sit still in that chair, place the sensors for short little bursts of time. And if we can do that, we're always curious to see what will your brain do if we can just actually have it access this technology. And it's always fascinating. That's why every member in my family has done it. In Julie's family, nephews, nieces, our mother. My brother came in from Kentucky, his wife.
Yeah.
And of course, the results have been phenomenal and very unique to each person. It tends to improve brain function, and that can do a lot of different things for different people. So.
Well, I'm feeling like we have so much more to share about sleep. Like we could do a whole nother Facebook
Yeah, we have to be
Live,
careful.
but we've
Yeah,
been
yeah.
45 minutes in. I'm not sure how much longer we should go.
Is there anything we have to cover?
Um,
We answered some of the questions. Well, there's a few. Thank you for the information, Sia. Thank you for asking.
I know we wanted to talk about how the brain makes melatonin and cortisol. I mean, there's
Yes.
just so much to know
Questions about
sleep.
coffee, THC, how that
Junk
affects
light.
sleep. There's so much. I will tell you that when you come in, because a lot of people, they use coffee, but if it's done right, it's not a problem. But for the majority of people, sometimes they don't realize how they should drink the coffee and how it might be affecting their sleep. THC, marijuana, I'm amazed how many people use marijuana to try to sleep, especially younger people. And boy, that can really be causing a bigger problem, but there's a nice, easy method to resolve that issue. Same with melatonin. Yeah. People using, obviously the brain, the perfect amount of melatonin is what the brain creates when it's functioning properly. Getting something from, say, a lab or even some of these natural melatonin supplements, they're pretty safe, but I will say, yeah, they can vary quite a bit in the dosage, and it's hard to know the dosage based on the quality of the product you're buying. And so I'll leave it there.
I don't know. He has a funny
But
story.
Oh, the melatonin story? Should I share that?
I don't know.
It's a weird one.
It's a weird one.
All right, don't let this scare you away from melatonin, but this stuck in my mind, especially the men out there. So I was listening to a neuroscientist talk about melatonin, and a lot of people will do too much melatonin thinking they're totally safe, right? So it's a high dose of melatonin supplement. And they did some studies with hamsters And they found when they did the higher dosages, the hamster's testicles shrunk 10 to 20 times. They went from a size of an almond. Thanks, Julie. They went from the size of an almond to the size of a piece of rice. Now that is high dose melatonin. So, and again, that's not a human being. That's not a human study, but it certainly opened my eyes a little bit. I was like, ugh. So I would just say, do melatonin properly. Talk to your doctor about it.
Every man who's listening will never touch it again from now on.
That was only like very high doses.
It is important to know that sometimes we think, oh, if it's a supplement, the more the better. Not so. And there would be a good example, I suppose.
Oh boy.
I just love it. Anyway, someone asked if insurance covers this. It is non-medical. However, HSAs, FSAs, that's right, will cover it. Some of the sharing, like a Samaritan Ministry, some of those will help to cover it. So there are some options out there, but typically medical insurance won't cover it. And look at Maria's mom is here.
Yes, Paula.
We want to help.
Yes.
We want to help soon. Please come in.
And remember, so Medea can kind of help you come out and meet us personally. We'd love to meet you in person. We've heard good things about you. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
and we do look forward to going a little more in depth for you specifically. So, and then is it Michaela? Michaela,
yes.
part 2 on
Part
sleep.
2. And I'll come up with some more ways to embarrass him, I promise.
Yeah, thank you so
fun.
much. So I will say that we're going to be doing another one next month in August. We've already set a date and we're going to be getting that out there. But that's going to be in large part a little on anxiety. We'll touch on sleep and depression, lack of motivation.
Is that the back to school?
But it's really focused on back to school. So students K through 12 and university students, this technology is fantastic, especially students who know they're struggling. It is amazing, even with cognitive performance, the ability to focus. It's amazing. And of course, if your sleep is poor, any student knows if you can get high quality sleep and you wake up rested, that makes a huge difference on many levels.
Well, even though we're not doing the live event for another 3 weeks, and people don't want to think school right now because it's July, this is a great time to prepare in this world for school because we can get the sessions done and get the brain into a nice balanced state before school starts. So it is something to consider maybe before August 12th, but we'll talk more about that on August 12th.
And please, I hope we have an opportunity to meet you here in the office. That discovery consultation, we really do go in depth. And we promise you when you're done with that, you'll really have a real understanding of what we're doing, the technologies, the people here. It'll all make sense to you.
So in case you weren't here in the beginning, during this event till 8 o'clock tonight, we have people taking calls to schedule a discovery consult. I did open up some appointments tomorrow if you want to come in right away. And you'll receive this cup with some goodies in it and $100 off our services based on what we recommend.
Sure. That's our Brain Life Center oversized mug. And it actually says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. Romans 12.
It's a nice cup.
Yeah.
And then you'll also be in the drawing for the $1,200 gift certificate. And we're doing this drawing tonight, so you'll hear by tomorrow. This big package, kind of large, lots of things inside it, but $1,200 towards services. And then one more, that's $350 towards services. So feel free to call anytime before 8 o'clock and we'll get you into those drawings and get to meet you in person. And thank you, anyone who came. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, that actually went really quick for me. So
it did. I can't believe it's been 50 minutes.
We'll have opportunities to cover some more. And we're enjoying these. So thank you for joining us and have a good night.
Oh, someone just made an appointment.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. We look forward to meeting you. Excited.
Leavia. Oh, I like it.
Like it.
All right. Excellent. We're looking forward to meeting you here. Well, thank you again and have a good night. And we hope to hear from you soon. And maybe we'll be seeing you again very soon, even on our Facebook Live events. So God bless you. Have a good night.
Thank you.